Well, I didn't think I'd be making a video like this in general, or just at least not so soon. Now, before I really get into this video here, this is going to be a little bit different from my typical videos. If you're reading the title, you probably know what this video is about. And this is just, something that I want to talk about, something that happened recently in my career. And I want to say a few things too before I get into this video. One, I'm going to keep everything as confidential as possible. I don't want to blast this company for whatever reason because I still love this company. And also, two, I know I'm going to talk about money for a few different parts of this video. And I want you guys to know that no matter any amount of money I talk about, I don't want to sound like I'm taking it for granted. So while I might not agree with how much a company is paying me, at the end of the day, I never take money for granted. I'm very, intentional with my money, and I appreciate however much money any company is willing to pay me. So I just want to get that out before I get into this video. Now, I've tried making this video before, and I'm dragging on way too long. So I'm going to try to follow a little bit of an outline. So hopefully I don't drag this on too long, but sit back, relax. Let's talk about basically why I got terminated for accepting a new job. Now, I didn't get fired for doing bad work. I didn't get fired for breaking rules. Once again, I basically got terminated because I accepted a better job, in my opinion, and I tried to make a career move for myself. So, for context, if you guys don't know, I am a data analyst. Now, I've worked for this company for basically 8 years now, and we'll call them Company A. Now, when I started with Company A, I started at 18. I started in the stores, and sooner than later, some things happened, and nothing bad, and I just realized that working in the stores wasn't for me. I wanted to do something, a little bit more on the back end, a little bit more with, the corporate side of things, the business side of things. So about 2 years ago, I made the switch to the corporate side of things. And in corporate, when I started about around $19 an hour doing entry-level data analysis. Basically, I would look at competitor pricing, I would look at our pricing, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, write a few things down, and that was basically the gist of the job for $19 an hour. It was part-time, and I didn't really mind it too much. And I have a background in data analytics. That's what my degree's in, so I was like, hey, I'm making a start in the right direction. Then eventually I got promoted, and when I got promoted, they offered me a job position for $30 an hour with the also catch that I would have to move out and relocate for this job. But as most things go, my job quickly turned into a lot more than entry-level work. So once I took this full-time job offer, at that point, I wasn't just analyzing data. I was doing deep kind of technical analysis. I was supporting a lot of real business decisions. And using my kind of coding experience from college, I was, implementing Python scripts and code into this department and, using that to build tools and analysis for the team. And one of the, main things that I liked about this is it was making a name for myself, right? I was showing these guys that there's new ways to look at data, there's new ways to use Python to use data. But the main kicker is I was the only person in my entire department who knew how to code and who knew how to really be this technical with certain data analysis. And, they told me that they wanted me to spearhead new projects with code and analysis, which sounds great, but in my opinion, not for $30 an hour. And once again, that's kind of why I made that mention in the beginning of this video. I don't want to sound like I'm taking it for granted, but it's just for $30 an hour, that's not something I'm really willing to do. In my opinion, that's pretty low for someone who has my skills with my type of degree. Now, this leads us into, that's kind of like the background of where I'm at today. Now, I left a few things out, but it's all kind of just, little stuff here and there about how I got into my role that I'm at today. But part two, I kind of want to jump into the actual pay negotiation and frustration. And this is where a little bit of the relationship started to take a turn with me and Company A. Now, when they offered me $30 an hour, I did try to negotiate that pay because I'd be moving to a more expensive state. I'd be moving away from friends and family. And at the time, I didn't know if my girlfriend could keep her job. Now, the recruiter told me one thing, and my manager told me something completely different. Now, to put it in perspective, the reason I tried to negotiate higher than $30 an hour is because with a 40-hour work week, because that's all I'm able to work is 40 hours, and assuming, I'm making $30 an hour, I'm working 40 hours a week, 7% of my 401k is, I'm contributing 7% to my 401k, and standard benefits, I usually take home around $47,000 a year. Now, for someone with a computer science degree doing advanced analysis and coding, to me personally, that just felt low. Now, let's get into what the hiring manager and recruiter told me versus what my actual manager told me. And this is kind of where it changed, right? When I initially asked for higher pay, the hiring manager, the recruiter, was basically like, look, hey, you can try to ask for more money, but we base everything off market value, which in my opinion was a lie because it's pretty easy to find market value for your position. Indeed and Glassdoor exist, and also just look at jobs with your job title in the city you're moving to. See what they're paying. That's pretty much how you find, what your job market is. So I tried to negotiate. She told me, hey, no, that's not going to happen. We base this off what we believe is fair market value, which once again, I didn't agree with. Now, next thing, my manager told me something completely different. After I accepted the $30 an hour, and by the way, when I say I tried to negotiate to $31 an hour. That was it. If you do the math, that's about an extra $2,000 a year. That's all I tried to negotiate to, is about a 3.2% raise based off of what they were already paying me. So anyway, after I accept the job offer for $30 an hour because my manager declines the $31 an hour, he calls me and he basically goes, look, it's really confusing why you're asking for more money. I don't really understand why you're asking for more money. I expected you to be excited for this role and take what we gave you. And for me, that was a very kind of annoying conversation to have with my manager because for me, it's like, you shouldn't question why I'm trying to negotiate for an extra dollar. It should be pretty clear. I'm moving across the country. Don't know if my girlfriend can keep her job. I need to support myself, and I'm doing a lot for you guys. Therefore, I think I deserve $31 an hour, which obviously he didn't agree with and felt the need to directly confront me about it, which I just felt was unprofessional. Now, I had multiple conversations with my manager about moving up fast, and I basically told him in the middle of 2025 that I wanted to be a level 2 position by the end of 2026. And he basically told me that's not really possible and you need to sit in any role we give you for about 2 to 3 years and just keep working hard. Verbatim, that's what he told me. Put your head down, keep working hard, which is another thing that I didn't really agree with. Now, let's get into part 3. This is where the relationship started to fall apart a little bit more. And this is where I'm like starting to kind of like get very, frustrated with the company A. Now, at the end of the year, they told me something very important. My manager had a performance evaluation with me, and he said high performers and overachievers can get 7 to 8% raises. Now, given everything I was doing, the coding, the projects, the responsibility I had, I assumed that would be me. I assumed that when he had this conversation with me during my evaluation that overachievers can get a 7 to 8% raise, I assumed he was having that conversation to tee me up for a higher raise. But instead, he flips to the next screen and proceeds to show me my 3% raise. So my pay went from $30 an hour to $30.90. Now, once again, I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to be ungrateful. I'm very happy I got a 3% raise. But at the end of the day, when you're in a meeting with your manager and he's telling you all the great things you're doing and he's saying how high performers can get 7 to 8% raises, just to kind of hit me on top of the head with a 3% raise, once again, it was just very kind of tone deaf. It's like, don't have that conversation with me if, I'm just going to get a 3% raise. Like, I'd rather you keep that to yourself and just let me think I have more to work for. Now, here is, a big point in the story too, where kind of a lot fell apart for me. And, I know I'm letting money affect a lot of my decisions, but let's go with this part in the story. I'm in a meeting with a coworker and I found something out that really bothered me. He objectively does less work than me. And I'm not just disrespecting him. I love the kid. I think he's a great kid. Hard worker. It's just facts. If you look on paper, per the job descriptions, I'm doing a lot more in my role with the coding and technical analysis, and he's not. He's also been with the company for less amounts of time, and we have the exact same degree and almost one for one the exact same previous experience. So on paper, me and this guy are basically the same. And I come to find out that he actually makes more money than me. And when he got promoted, they didn't even have to negotiate. They just offered him more money. Now, I got promoted in August of 2025 to full-time. He got promoted in October 2025 to full-time. So he got promoted exactly 2 months after me. And remember, I tried to negotiate to $31 an hour, and my manager said, hey, that's the flat rate. That's what we pay everyone. There's no negotiation. I'm surprised you're asking for more money. Just to come to find out that 2 months later, they promote this kid, they pay him $31 an hour, and didn't have to negotiate. So it goes directly contradicted versus what my manager told me. And now, even after my 3% raise, this kid is still making more money than me. So for me, in my experience with the company, the fact that I worked in the stores for 6 years and I moved to corporate, I kind of felt a little done dirty, right? I kind of felt like that was kind of a slap in the face. So at this point, this is about, I would say 4 months ago, I started looking for new jobs. Now, this is part 4 in the story. This is pretty recent. This was about, I'd say, a month ago. Before I actually relocated, I interviewed with Company B. We're just going to call them Company B for privacy's sake. And this Company B is actually in the same industry that I currently work in. And Company A, who I previously worked for, knows Company B very well. And Company B basically told me, they said, hey, look, we like you, but if we offer you a job, you need to tell your current employer that we did not poach you, because in this industry, it's very frowned upon to poach people. So pretty much once I got moved, once I settled down, I had a meeting with my manager in his office 2 weeks ago on Monday. And I basically told him, I said, look, I applied for this role before relocating and I might get an offer. Now, this conversation was terrible. This conversation went way far left, went way completely out of this was just so far out of what I actually thought a manager would talk like, right? Basically, the conversation was terrible. He brought up politics. He told me he was extremely frustrated that I had been looking for other jobs and that he was angry. He accused me of chasing a paycheck and accused me of not settling and doing enough for the company. And at the end of the day, the conversation just didn't go how it didn't go how I expected it to. And he told me to think about it. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. But, at no point in the conversation did he ask me, hey, I support your decision, but what can we do to keep you, right? And that might be me being greedy or being too self-confident. But I believe as a manager, if you have an employee in front of you who's thinking of going to a new company, you should ask them, what can I do in my power to keep this employee that we really like? And he didn't do that. So that was Monday. Now we fast forward to Wednesday. Pulls me in the office again, and he basically tells me that Company B emailed the assistant vice president of Company A, the assistant vice president of my department, asking if it was okay for them to offer me a job. And my assistant vice president told them, yes, it is okay to offer me a job. And this is just standard practice when two companies have a relationship, right? They want to make sure it's okay with my old company to offer me a job. So the offer came through, and after a lot of reflection, like I'm telling you guys, I lost sleep over this because I truly thought I would retire with Company A. I really did. And I still to this day love Company A. I think it's an amazing company. But after a lot of reflection, I decided to accept the role. Now, at this point, let's kind of recap really quick because I know I've been going fast here, but like I said, I tried recording this video a whole bunch of times, and at one point I was at like 46 minutes and I haven't even wrapped up my point yet. So I'm trying to kind of speed through this here. Once again, we'll stop here. Let me recap. Basically, I've been working with Company A for 8 years now, 6 years in the stores, 2 years for corporate. In my opinion, I do a lot that I don't get paid for, and I'm very grateful for my pay. I just think that the roles and responsibilities that I've consumed have gone way over my actual market value for my pay grade. I had a talk with my manager, letting him know I applied for a new role. The talk went very sideways. It did not go good, and now at this point, the relationship's kind of murky because he's not happy that I'm looking for new roles, but then at the end of the day, I'm not happy because now I found out that a kid who has been with the company for less time than me, doing less than me, is actually making more than me. So I just wasn't very happy, right? I want to be paid for what I believe I'm worth, and I want to be paid for my market value of what I can bring to the company. So most people would say, so what, right? At this point, it's like, why is this even this deep, right? People change jobs all the time. But this is where the situation, in my opinion, went as far down the drain as it probably could. This is where they started burning bridges with me on a personal level. And this is just where the story kind of, I hope none of you guys ever have to deal with this with a company that you plan to leave. So last Thursday, right, I needed to submit my 2 weeks notice in person. I decided to accept the role, like I just said. The pay was good. I'm happy with it. I know the company B very well. And I'm like, you know what? This is a role I want to accept. So I decided to accept it. Now, obviously, as a grown man, I need to go and put in my 2 weeks in person. I didn't want to do it remotely. I didn't want to do it through an email. I wanted to do it face-to-face with my manager. Now, last Thursday, my manager was out, and I really couldn't wait till Friday because I needed to put in my 2 weeks because I start with new company B in literally 2 weeks from now. So I needed to let them know what my decision was. And they were kind of very tense and knew that this, I had to make a decision. And they actually requested that I speed up my decision to let them know. So I couldn't find my manager. So I go straight to the assistant vice president's office. Now, the assistant vice president is the boss of my manager. So I basically went to my manager's boss. And I'm not going to lie, the conversation was very emotional, right? Straight up with you guys, I was crying because I do love this company and I never thought I would leave, especially so soon. After moving out here and working in office, it was a very emotional decision for me to make. And, this is a company that I love and I genuinely thought, once again, I'd retire and spend the rest of my life here. I told him I accepted the role and I told him, just transparently, I said, hey, look, I accepted this role. And I also wanted to let you know how the talk with me and my manager went. And I straight up told him, I said, hey, look, I said nothing negative about my manager. All I said was, in a professional setting, I was disappointed how my manager handled me telling him I was looking for new roles. Because once again, it was very tense. It was very kind of, hostile of a conversation telling me that I shouldn't accept this role. And at no point did my manager ask me, what can we do to keep you? Instead, it was, don't leave, and if you do leave, you're going to regret it. Now, part 6, this is the conversation that just crossed the line way too far, right? This is where it got really bad. At this point, instead of my assistant vice president saying, I respect you, I understand where you're coming from, I apologize, your manager acted in this light, I wish the best for you. He looked at me and said that I threw away my career with them. He told me multiple times I was chasing a paycheck. And then he admitted something that blew my mind. He said that if he knew I would actually accept the job offer with Company B, he would have told Company B to remove my name from consideration. He was 100% sure I would turn it down, and that's why he allowed Company B to offer me a job. And then he said, this is going to really make me think differently about who you are as a person. And I've told a few people this, and a lot of people want to defend that, well, you are chasing a paycheck, and of course they're going to think about you differently. But here's my argument to those 2 points. 1, in my opinion, I'm not chasing a paycheck. I'm chasing my fair value for what I can bring to a company. There's a big difference if I was chasing a paycheck and all I wanted to do was get as much money as possible. That's not my mindset when I look at this career move. When I look at this career move, I'm looking at this as not only, yes, am I making money, more money, but truthfully, this is money I think I've deserved for a long time. I'm not really even excited about the pay raise. I'm more excited about how much I'm jumping forward in my career and how much I'm going to be able to make a name for myself in this industry. And then, at the same time, I've had a few people say, well, of course he's going to think differently about who you are as a person. But the problem is there's absolutely no reason that anyone in a level of an assistant vice president should question the character of the person sitting in front of them when they're treating them with the utmost respect, making a career decision for themselves. I was 100% respectful through this whole entire conversation with my assistant vice president. And he looked at me telling me he's going to think differently about who I am as a person. And he told me that this is not about my work. This is about my character. He said, this is a character issue. Once again, I right hand up to God. May God turn off my computer right now if I'm lying. He told me that for accepting this job, he believes this is a character issue on my part. So uncalled. That is just so uncalled for. And that, meeting ended really poorly. I didn't really know what to say. Once again, I was already emotional through the whole thing. And, I was expecting to at least get some type of, it's okay. But instead, it was you threw away your career. We're going to look at you differently as a person. You're chasing a paycheck, and hopefully the door doesn't hit you on the way out. So the next day, Friday, I planned to work throughout my 2 weeks and teach them how to use my code. That was my goal, right? My goal was I know that I have this code that I use for the company. No one really knows how to use it. So throughout these next 2 weeks, I'm going to teach them how to use my code. But when I logged in and I go to my Teams calendar, all my meetings were completely gone. Then my manager calls me. He called me about 2 hours into the workday. And to sum it up, he basically goes, we no longer need your services. I'd appreciate if you were able to bring your computer in. And because of how everything went down, we've decided to put you on the no rehire list. So at this point, I am a non-rehireable employee and that I was not able to work out, my 2 weeks. Now, here's part of the story that I want to add in there. They did give me a $3,000 bonus to relocate. So telling them all of this, that I'm, considering a new job, I did feel bad that they gave me this $3,000 bonus to relocate. And on that phone call with my manager, I really wish I recorded it for legal purposes, but I told my manager 3 times on that call that I would literally hand deliver him the $3,000 money back at the end of the day. And he refused to take the money back. And he said, no, he said, don't worry about it. He said, keep the money. We don't want it back. And I said, okay, but if you ever need that $3,000 relocation bonus back, call me and I'll give it to you. Now, this is where, once again, they start to just burn the bridges as much as possible. I was nervous legally about that $3,000 bonus and that, they were going to say a few things about me. So I emailed my manager to get everything in writing. And his response was this. He told me on this email that he did not appreciate that I tried to attack his character to his boss and the team, and that I needed to learn to mature from this situation. I had never attacked his character once until this point to his boss or to anyone on the team. No one on my department even knew I was leaving until my manager told them that they had decided to let me go and no longer need my services. And at no point did I attack my manager to his boss. All I said was, I don't think he followed the company's cultural values and how he handled the situation. That's about as respectful as I can get. And now I suspect there's a rumor going around that I probably attacked him, which is wild because if anything, they're the ones who directly questioned my character and attacked my character. So it's a very childish game for this huge company to be playing with me. And I've never seen a company burn bridges with a respectful employee like that. Like literally 2 weeks ago, I moved out here to work for this company. And now I'm currently sitting here recording this video, no longer working for them on a non-rehireable list because they have decided to burn the bridges completely. And I think I'm doing pretty good on time here. So kind of, I know I flew through that. But I wanted to let you guys know that this is the shit that happens. Companies do this, right? I'm not telling you guys never to be loyal to a company, but for me to work so long at this company, to work for 8 years, to work in the stores, move to corporate, do a whole bunch of just stuff that was not even asked of me, that I did for low pay and, just as much as I could to help this company out and be the best version of myself I could be for this company. The minute they found out that I was exploring external opportunities, they decided to burn the bridges. And the thing that kind of is the kicker is I never told them at one point did I know that kid was making more money than me. I kept that to myself. I felt like that was inappropriate to bring up. I didn't want to get that kid in trouble. So they had no reason to get this emotional or this personally upset for me considering new opportunities. That I framed it as I was looking at new opportunities for myself. I didn't say, I'm leaving because you guys aren't paying me more than this kid. I'm leaving because you aren't paying me what I'm worth. I simply said, hey, I was looking at external opportunities and this company and company B got back to me. And my manager, my assistant vice president at the time, decided to completely burn the bridges with me. Both conversations I had with them got very hostile. They questioned my character multiple times. They told me multiple times I was chasing a paycheck. They told me multiple times I'm throwing away my career. They told me multiple times I'm going to regret this. They even went as far as talking bad about company B to my face, telling me that company B isn't in the financial place to hire someone in this role. Like, bro, just wild things that they were saying to try to scare me into staying with company A. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Still to this day, 5 days removed, there's part of me that still regrets leaving company A. Like, I still think, like, if I really made the right decision, or if this is something that's going to come back and haunt me in my career. But at the end of the day, bro, I see this as a blessing in disguise, right? If this is how they act with someone who's respectful and someone who wants the best for both parties, I can't imagine how they act with people who don't act like that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, this showed me that I probably dodged a bullet, if I'm being honest. If this is how they treat someone who worked hard, stayed loyal, and just tried to be honest, that's not a place that I want to be long term. And, the thing is this too. It's like, they told me I could be at the highest of highest levels, making the most amount of money possible. But if I have to sell my soul for it and know who I'm working for, and I don't, agree with those peoples and their values, that's not really somewhere I want to be, because they're actively showing me that they don't practice, safe talk and open environments, because somehow the 2 discrete meetings I had with my manager and the 1 discrete meeting I had with my assistant vice president seem to be, going around, and everyone knows now that somehow it was told that I attacked my manager's character. Like, it's just wild, bro. So look, one reason I'm making this is to rant and to get it off my chest. Second reason I'm making this is because here's the thing. If you guys are in a similar position, right, don't let loyalty trap you in a job that truly doesn't value you. At no point in any meeting I had did they ask me just once, what can we do to keep you? We really like you. We don't want you to leave. What can we do to keep you? And instead, they tried to scare me into staying, and I didn't appreciate that. And the other thing, too, is I'm trying to take this in the best note as possible. And once again, if you guys are out there struggling with your job or, starting a new role, here's the thing. A lot of people say grass isn't greener on the other side. A lot of people say this, but I saw a quote that I like, and it says, grass isn't greener on the other side, but at least it's a different yard. And the reason I like that is because it's scary to leave a company you've been with, especially like me, for 8 years now. I know the business very well. I know the back and front of it. I know a lot of people in that company. So for me, it's easy to stay. It's comfortable but to stay. The uncomfortable thing to do is to start with a new company and prove myself again. But in my opinion, I'm ready to do that, right? I'm ready to go to a place that I can make a name for myself, that I can start making the money that I've truly wanted to make for a very long time, and that I can push forward in my career. Now, is it going to be uncomfortable? Probably. Is there going to be a lot of new things I have to learn? Probably. But all we can do as people who are trying to, make careers for ourselves and increase our financial foundations and stuff like that is you have to sometimes put yourself in very uncomfortable positions, even if it means a company that you love and trust are burning bridges between you and listing you as non-rehirable, right? Because at the end of the day, I talk about this a lot in some of my other videos. You can't control, you only can focus on the things you can control. I can't control how company A is going to react. All I can control is how I act. And I personally believe through this whole situation, I've done nothing but be respectful, honest, transparent, and just let them know too that no matter what I do, I still love this company. They're the ones who decided to bring, personal feelings into it, get emotional, get reactive, get hostile, and that's on them. And I can lose sleep over that and think about it for the next 12 weeks, or I can brush it under the rug and keep looking forward. And that's what I'm going to try to do. It's not easy. I'll be honest. It's very hard. Trust me, that night after I talked to my assistant vice president, all I could see when I closed my eyes was his face when I told him I accepted the job, because he was not happy at all. But once again, all I can do is look forward, be excited for the new career and journey in front of me. And if it blows up in my face, at least I tried it, right? So once again, a little bit of a different video. I'm sorry if I kind of sped through this, or if I just ran through it so fast that it was hard to keep up. Like I said, I tried recording this video a whole bunch of times, and I was recording an hour-long video talking about this because I was getting way too in depth with detail. And at the end of the day, bro, high level, you guys pretty much know what happened, right? I worked for this company, felt like I wasn't making enough. I looked for a new job, and they got pissed off. That's the, long story short. So other than that, thank you guys for watching this video. I know, once again, it's a little bit of a different video from what I usually make, so I apologize about it. But yeah, man, I'll keep you guys updated with my new journey and my new career. And, I hope you guys, I wish you guys the best. And if you guys are ever in a position like this, or have ever been in a position like this, feel free to comment. Let me know what you kind of went through or what you've been through, or if you regret the career decisions you made, or if you look back on it and you're super happy about the career decisions you made, because I need all the help I can get right now as far as, putting my mindset back in the right place. So once again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.